Get
This
on with the
conference will
Board of
now be recorded.
Meeting in Town Council Chambers on Thursday, May 18th, 6:30 p.m. Start with the pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And I will take a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We'll move on to the minutes approval for June 30th, 2022. It's an old minutes that we had forgotten to approve apparently.
It's your last minute.
These are our last minutes?
It's been a long time. So moved.
That was the last meeting? What did they end up doing with that? Sorry, we missed it. I just forgot that.
They just never saw it.
Okay, so that being said, we have, does anybody remembers a year ago? Has any questions about these minutes? Seek a motion to approve the minutes for June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. We will open it to public comments on the business item in front of us, variance VA 2023-01. Anybody in the public that might be? I knew.
Is this on? Yeah. Lynn Livesey, 520 10th Avenue South. I'm here to speak on behalf of saving the trees. I did look over the entire package, and I think I kind of understand what the folks are trying to do. It's kind of hard to speak about something when you haven't seen it yet, but I think I kind of understand. Knowing full well what you all have to do and how folks have to comply with the exceptions and so forth. Just for my own sake, I'm reviewing there. Is there an extraordinary, and exceptional situation here? And I think the answer is yes. And those conditions do not generally apply to other properties. Well, no, of course not, because what we're asking here is to save trees, and there's only those trees on that lot. So it's not like any other situation. And because of these conditions, the applicant of the ordinance, this particular piece of property would, you all know these, effectively prohibit or unreasonable restrict the, so it's not going to restrict any utilization. I understand the neighbors have been notified. I'm pretty sure that I read they had consulted an arborist, and there would be a great deal of damage to these really valuable trees. So I'm speaking on behalf of the oaks. And because I'm a volunteer like you all are, I'm working on the Stormwater Committee, and we're trying to rewrite the tree ordinances. And you all haven't had the privilege of seeing those yet. We're working on it. It'll be out here soon, and everyone will see it. But I would like to, like for you all to go ahead and save these trees. I think the criteria is met, that you can save it. I know you're held to a legal standard, but I think the legal standard is met. I have a little handout here that the citizens of Surfside, the Stormwater Committee and the Tree Committee have been writing this, and on Arbor Day, we passed a few out. Just for your growth and edification, and for later on, if you have anything like this come up again, I'd just like to hand these out to you all. It won't have any bearing tonight because you don't really have time to review it, if you don't mind.
I get the highlighted copy.
Yeah, you get the highlight.
Thank you.
We published this from the committee, and we're working on it. And we are Tree City USA, and we're working hard to save the canopy, which is kind of a new term that everybody isn't fully aware of. We're working on saving the canopy of our town. You can't go around.
When you fly over, you look at it.
That's right. You see the canopy of the trees and the fullness of it. And it is being depleted. And if you allow these folks to keep their trees, which I hope you will, I would suggest that you encourage them to continue with an arborist. Any pruning that needs to be done or any root protection, any construction, I understand they're probably going to destroy what's there and do something else in the footprint of the home that's existing. So there will be precautions taken, but the whole point is to save the trees, and that's what they're talking about here. Encroaching on the side or right of way of a street, I don't think it's been there for a very long time that way, and I don't think anyone's had a problem with it. So I'm here to save the trees. Thank you.
But no, she used to be on this committee. So. Anyone else? That being said, we'll stop the public comment section and move on to business item. One question before that was, Lynn indicated, but the neighbor, I don't see it, the back of the neighbors were notified.
Yes, and it was in the packet, yes. Property was advertised in the local paper, letters were sent, and we're gonna talk about that, when I do the presentation, and it was posted.
Okay, we will move to the business item, the variance number ZA 2023-01. Robert Bales, property owner of 914 North Dogwood Drive, requesting a variance to encroach into the side yard of the property, corner side, 14 feet to stay protected, and landmark oak tree on the property. The property is currently zoned R1, PIN number 46103010049. Would the town like to present?
Yes. Yes, finally, we had the last meeting, it was a disaster. Okay, as the chair stated, the property is currently zoned R1. The required setbacks are front 25, side 10. There's a side with the street, which would be 15, and the rear is 20. They're requesting a side yard variance on the 10th Avenue north side of 14 feet, just as the existing home currently stands, allowing the new home to be located 1 foot from their property line. They did supply a survey, and as you can see, I think most of this is in your packet. The existing home is 1.16 feet away from the property line, but there's a 20-foot right-of-way, because both 10th Avenue North and Dogwood North are 60-foot public right-of-ways, which gives 20 feet between the property line and the edge of the pavement on the front and the side. You can also see on this survey where the 15 feet requirement would place the house, would certainly interfere with the oak cluster, which is 48 inches in diameter. And then the 3 other oaks are on the front. I think I have some better pictures. So this is the largest tree, and if you can see, there is a lead that goes almost to the home, the existing home. They have consulted an arborist. They definitely want to save all of the oak trees. That's one of the reasons they bought the lot. So they have consulted an arborist. So even if they have to trim the live oaks when they just demolish the home and rebuild, they're going to have an arborist on standby. So they're fully aware that they need to save the trees and won't save the trees. You have this on your survey as well, but I took a picture so you can see the 22-inch is kind of in the middle. There's 18-inch oak and then the 20-inch oak, and there's a sign. The property lines, the one with the stairway, you can see it's almost right on the property line, and then that's 10th Avenue North, and the other side is Dogwood, and you can see the right-of-way. There's 20 feet between their property line and the street. So if the variance is granted, it's not going to look like the home is right on the street. This is a different view of the 10th Avenue side. You see the property line. You have 20 feet between that line and the edge of the pavement. And the board does have a right to grant a variance to remove a landmark tree or grant a variance setback requirements in order to save the landmark trees and protect the trees. Obviously, these property owners are wanting to save the trees. They don't want, the purpose of demolishing the home is not to make a home bigger. They want to pretty much put it in the same footprint that's there, so they can have the trees surrounding it. Staff has received calls. We did notify everyone within 150 feet of the property, and every call was in support of the variance being granted. And we received no opposition. I'll be glad to answer any questions, or the property owners are here if you have questions for them.
Any questions for the town?
A couple questions. So 10th Avenue North, the way that road wraps around the ponds and whatnot, I'm assuming that there's no future plans that you are aware of to make that road wider or to make use of that 20-foot right of way that's there?
No, when I did check with the Public Works Director.
Okay.
And he did not object to the variance. So there's no plans to expand that 20 foot.
Was that over supper?
How was it gonna go there? But you had to.
Yes, that's,
But no, it was not.
okay.
Till I talk.
Follow-up is, as far as it goes then, with the trees being the way that, located where they are, I'm assuming from, if this variance was granted, that from a design standpoint, there would be deference given to those trees as well, so you couldn't pull the driveway through. I'm just thinking of how that thing ultimately sits, if we're giving deference to the trees, that carries forward in the design process.
Right, and the property owner did mention that because they're wanting to save the trees. They're wanting to put their driveway on 10th Avenue North, and you can correct me when you get up here if it's wrong, behind the home. And of course, they have an option to park underneath. So there's no trees that would be damaged in the rear.
Okay. And the lot is a conforming lot size wise, so there's no deference given to it as far as being able to reduce the side setbacks and whatnot.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's it.
Anybody else have questions for the town?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bales, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Welcome to come up, state your name and
Yes. My name is Robert Bayless. I'm the homeowner of 914 North Dogwood Drive.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth.
I certainly swear to tell the truth and the whole truth. Sabrina did a pretty good job explaining it, but we purchased the property last summer, last April, and the main reason we fell in love with it were the trees. After initially we thought we'd be able to maybe just renovate the house and do some things, possibly use it in the future as a rental, but the ordinances now don't allow rentals in that zone. So the layout of the house, which is completely fine because we love, we kind of fell in love with the area and then we do love the property. The layout of the house is certainly not conducive to, it was built as a rental house. So to renovate it, we have to probably cost more than tearing it down, bringing it to code. So we believe that rebuilding is the best solution. And we'd like to, keep the exact same footprint that we have, or a very similar footprint in size that way, and be able to leave all the trees. It's the 48-inch one on the side is the main concern because it is already touching the house. So we'd like to not have to trim it at all. There might be some minor trimming, but we'd like to leave everything exactly the way it is. The driveway is planned, would be on the side of the house, like coming in right off 10th, so not around the back. Because there are also 2 live oaks on the setback in the back corner as well, which are, not nearly as big, but they're probably 35, 40-year-old live oaks that are also grown inside. So there's lots of tree cover.
Questions for Mr. Bales? Would it be, the board can approve things and put stipulations on it, and if the stipulation was that you had to stay within the footprint, is that a hardship on you?
No, so we've got an idea of the plan, but until this was kind of stated, we were not, we didn't want to get plans drafted up and everything. It would certainly fit with wise, we wouldn't go any wider than the footprint. I'm hoping to be a little bit more narrow, to be honest with you, to keep it, to possibly be able to move it a little bit over and stay within the trees. It might be slightly longer, like maybe 5 feet longer to the left, towards the back of the property, which that's clear to.
I have a question. Have you worked with an architect to look at alternatives that might meet both the setbacks and save the trees?
So we've talked to a couple builders, and we've got somebody that's going to draft the plans for us. We're meeting with them in several weeks on the property. So we have not, gone over all the options. We could trim the large 48-inch cluster. It cut probably a third of the tree off, and we'd probably be able to fit within the 15-foot setback if we did that. But the way it grows, it literally grows out like sideways towards the house. And we did have an arborist come out, and he talked about the importance of the root structure and the way that tree goes, the root structure. So not only trimming the trees from above, but moving it, the 15-foot would significantly damage it, the root structure as well. So that would be the concern to me.
There is quite a bit of room on the backside of the lot. That is the reason I asked. Is there an option to be creative with the construction or the design that might meet both requirements?
I think it would start to get slightly narrow. We would like to have a pool at the house. We live at the beach, and that would be enough. So that, and there are also 2 pretty large water oaks, which I don't know if they're protected or not, but they would start to come into play a little bit. There's a canopy back there separating those from the neighbor behind us.
Any other questions for Bill?
No.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so I entertain a motion.
Actually, I've got a follow-up question to the town. There was on the slide we had up there just a few minutes ago, is there deference given to us specifically when it comes to tree matters that falls outside of our 4 normal points?
Yes, it's actually in our ordinance, in the zoning ordinance. It says that the town has this board has a right to issue a variance in the setbacks to save trees or to remove a tree.
Okay, so in other words, that this, even though this is filled out with our normal 4 questions, with this, we're actually dealing with this under a little bit different standard, which is our specific purview to grant this under.
Under the town zoning ordinance, not
Okay.
state, yes,
And
that's correct.
And-
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then I would make a motion. Then under the town's ordinance, I would move to approve this with the stipulations that the 3 sides, the 3 sides be maintained. The rear of the current house, they would have some leeway as far as that goes, but that there would be no encroachment further than what's already in the footprint, and there would be deference given to those trees. That would be my motion.
Motion on the table, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion.
I'm torn on this one. Because you recall, we had a similar case over on 12th Avenue where we had a large specimen oak tree in the middle of the property, and we denied that. And at the end of the day, if you drive down Oak Street, you're gonna see a beautiful home that was set back a little bit further. They have a little bit larger front yard than they intended to have, but a accomplished both things. We saved the tree and the homeowner got a nice home. You know, I'm looking at this and wondering if there's an alternative or an opportunity to do both and still meet our setbacks.
That variance was to remove the tree.
That variance was to remove the tree and we denied that. So I want to save the trees and I want the homeowners to have a nice home. But have they looked at all the alternatives? I mean, this is a pretty large lot and there is a lot of area behind the home. Only my concern, not necessarily how I'm going to vote.
Agreed, and I think, I mean, this is staying in the existing house is there. We're going into the existing property line. The other one that I recall, the house was, they were wanting to build a house, they wanted to build a lot bigger house than they actually got. So, but fair point, we always, the board does always try to stay the spirit of the law and do what we can for the town. So I understand your thanks.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I can actually speak to that particular instance, because even though you guys did
Built the
that,
house.
yeah, we built the house. But,
Small town.
yeah, that's, yeah, you guys ruled on that while I was in Key West, so that was, you slipped that past me there. No, practically speaking, that's a good point. The difference there is that lot that you're referencing on 12 was a massive lot. And we're dealing with one tree, and it was a perfectly rectangular lot. And the house that was able to be designed on that lot was, gosh, I think it ended up being 3,000 something square foot, and still had a pool in the back. So when you talk about the size of the lot, I mean, it really was one of the larger lots. I would almost call them rounding errors, from when it was surveyed in the 50s, that those lots that had different streets, some of them got bigger than other lots. Whereas this one is, and when you start getting closer to the ocean, particularly when you get into the R3 lots, which this is not, but it's literally across the street from where all those R3 lots are, you get into some extreme space constraint. And I think that's where you are here. In addition to the fact that it's already an odd shaped lot, it's not a perfectly rectangle, and that extra piece there actually makes it more challenging, not easier to build because of the way it sets your angles on the lot. But corner lots, I only ever get terribly concerned about a corner lot is if we start cutting off our views, people turn around them and whatnot. That's why you got an extra 50% on the side setback is for that sight line. And here we got, I hate to say an extra 20 foot to play with, but that is the particulars of this deal. So I agree with you. I think on 12, it ended up being the right call. So, yeah, even though I would have voted the other direction.
No, but you excused yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But that's right. I think I did. So, but yeah, anyway,
But we did the right thing.
Yeah, you guys ended up doing the right thing. It was almost by accident, but it still worked out that way.
How the town is as beautiful it is,
Yeah.
by accident, but look at it.
There we go.
Any more discussion? We have a motion to approve remaining in the setbacks on the three sides as designated. Motion to approve. And. Oh, yeah, we already seconded it.
Yeah.
Just taking it, we had the motion. and a second.
Oh, just making sure I can always ask the question again.
We'll take a vote.
Yes.
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 Motion is approved and the variance has been granted. With that, we will move to public comment. No public comments, board comments.
I'd like to say two things. First, to our intrepid souls that constantly hold down the planning, building, and zoning department, sometimes by themselves. Thank you so much for your work over there. I know that there's been staffing turnover on multiple occasions, but the work that is done over there is yeoman's work, and it has to be done. So thank you all for your work over there. Second thing on the tree ordinance, the only thing that scares me when we talk about canopy and things like that is Surfside was developed to build houses, so it wasn't developed as a tree farm. It was developed to build houses. So I'm all for and always for trees. And I think that we should have as many trees as we can possibly have. The only concern I get is when we get into a situation where we are starting to lock off the use of people's lots, because the people that already have houses are getting the full enjoyment of that which they already purchased, and the people who are buying lots, and there's not a whole lot of those left. I get concerned when we start eclipsing their uses, to a certain extent. So, but on these R3 lots and these lots close to the ocean, it gets very difficult to save trees, because there's, we have layers of regulations on top of each other. And unfortunately, the tree ordinance is coming on the back end of all the other regulations that we put into place the last 50 years. So, but just random musings from Phil Murdoch.
As always, thank y'all for serving. This committee does serve voluntarily for the town, so we always appreciate you showing up. Sorry it's been a year. We'll get through it again. But thank y'all, thank everybody for coming out.
Yeah,
Good
maybe
day.
taking 5 months of break.
Nope, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? Second, all in favor, please rise. All right, approved, we are adjourned.
We are going to try to schedule a training in June.